And we're live for Real Estate Exposed. Phil Tarrant, Tom Panos, your co-host, traveling around Australia and globally. Tom Panos in New Zealand, just returned. How you going?
Very good. While we're talking about New Zealand, everyone listening here, please remember, if you go to New Zealand, you need a COVID test. That's in the last 24 hours before you travel. I had a flight at 9:30 yesterday, the day before. Phil, stupidly, unprepared. Traditionally, Panos getting there 1 hour before on an international flight. Dumb, but I've always got on. You always get on. You just go, if you got carry on. And Phil, the line was full. Even the business line was full. And the lady there said, you haven't done a New Zealand declaration, number one. You've got here an hour before you should be here 3 hours. And she goes, and you don't have a up-to-date COVID test of the last 24 hours. I was shocked. I was even on the flight. I can't believe it. Thank God, Phil. John Peranchi, if you're out there from McGrath, who I think is in the RB top 100, I'm not sure, his best mate was working behind the desk at Qantas, recognized me. I told him the story, and they fast-tracked me to a PCR test, got on the plane. They weren't impressed, obviously, when you walk on the plane last. People are staring at you. But, Phil, you need a COVID test. You need a New Zealand declaration. And when you're coming back to Australia, you need an Australian declaration. You can't just get on like it was the old days.
Mate, two lessons there, Tom. It's not what you know, it's who you know, point number one. And point number two, you got to actually do stuff to actually get the ground truth. And I hear you out in New Zealand, mate. You're a bit surprised by some of the changes to the way in which property investors can create wealth out there. Can't claim interest as a tax deduction anymore, mate. What's that got to do with the markets? Are agents getting jittery out there? I know things are changing. I've just had this morning a discussion with a Kiwi investor, and he was saying, hey, things are changing. I reckon there's going to be some good buying opportunities coming up because you're going to get a significant softening of the market. Are we seeing similar things out there to what we're seeing in Australia?
Oh, they're ahead of us in declines. They're ahead of us, Phil. They had their first interest rate increases in September, and they've already gone up 1.5%. They're already telling them that they're going to go up even more. So they're on that upward cycle. The clearance rate is somewhere between 20 and 30%. Number of people going to open for inspections has dramatically reduced. Trying to put deals together is very hard. But in addition to that, Phil, what you said there at the start, which I was surprised, I still can't actually process it in my head, and I hope it doesn't ever happen in Australia. Negative gearing is out in New Zealand. They announced it April 2021. It took effect in 2022 April. So, Phil, for those that are listening, just think about this concept. If you've got an investment property and your interest payment on that investment property is 30 grand a year, 40 grand a year, it's actually the biggest component of your cost. It's normally bigger than your water rates. It's bigger than everything. You cannot claim that as a tax deduction. I actually think that changes the total trajectory of an investor's plans. I don't know about Phil. You're a very big real estate investor. Would you still be buying investment property if Anthony Albanese brought in 2 years' time, scrapping negative gearing? Would you still invest in property?
Yes.
Tell me why. Because there's something, the benefit of it, a lot of it is actually gets diminished with taking that away.
I think the first point, Tom, is negative gearing. A lot of people, and this is one of the challenges Australian property's had over many years, and it's not as prolific as what it is right now. A lot of people used to stand up, property spruikers, let's call them that, saying your strategy should be a negative gearing strategy. Don't worry about how much it's going to cost, and don't worry about how much it's out of pocket because it's all a tax deduction. That should be your strategy. Let's be really, really clear. Negative gearing is not a strategy when it comes to property investing. Negative gearing is a consequence of investing, is a tax consequence of investing. And we can dig into this a lot more if you want, Tom. Would I still invest in properties if negative gearing was there? Absolutely. I'd just be chasing yielding assets. And natural market dynamics, Tom, if you remove negative gearing from the Australian property investing landscape, a couple of things going to happen. Number one, you're going to have a lot less investors in the market. Let's be clear. What's that going to do? It means there's going to be less investment properties. What happens with that? A rapid increase in rents on investment properties. So if you are a property investor and there isn't negative gearing, you should get the reciprocal uplift on rents. And if rents go up, it means that your property is probably going to be less likely to be negatively geared. That's just one point. The second point is think about all the social consequences if they scrap negative gearing. Australian property investors in many ways are the providers of affordable housing for a lot of Australians. The Australian government, yes, they provide social housing, but there's a big cohort of Australians who are always going to be renting property, and there's property investors that make those properties available. If they're not doing that, that means that falls on the shoulders of the government, and you're going to have some significant challenges when it comes to social engineering, if that was the consequence of it. So I think if Anthony Albanese was to, and the Labor Party were to form a government, he's been very clear he's not going to be touching this stuff. And I can't see that turning over. They've tried to do it beforehand. It hasn't worked. The ramifications of it is so significant for Australia that it would be a snowball effect, and I don't know where it would land. So it's a really good experiment to see how that plays out in New Zealand. They've got a more of a social leaning government, and I see there's probably a lot of pressure on that as a way in which to reduce the rampant price increases we've seen in the New Zealand market over the years. It's been out of control. The Auckland market, it's been nuts, Tom. And what were you doing out in New Zealand anyway? Who were you working with? What's the real intel on the streets? Are agents walking around with their chest puffed out now, or are they sort of starting to slump a little bit in their chair and it's getting very hard for them?
Slumping in the chair, and it's getting a little bit harder, Phil. And the reason why is they've had 2 amazing years, and all of a sudden they're facing the following. Many vendors are not coming to the market because they feel like they're not going to get their price. Other vendors that are on the market are saying, why should I sell at this figure when only 3 months ago I could have got that figure? And we've got a generation of real estate agents, not only in New Zealand and Australia as well, Phil, that have been working in an environment where there has not been upward pressure on interest rates. In fact, I don't have the exact number, Phil, but I would probably say that most of the industry in Australia and New Zealand have been working in real estate for less than 12 years. We had our first interest rate rise in 12 years the other day. So they are struggling with it. But I've got to say, there are another group of agents, Phil, and I look at them and I have conversations with them, and they're seeing, Rupert Murdoch used to have a great term, never waste a crisis. He was famous for that, never waste a crisis. So what's the opportunity in this crisis, Phil? Think about it. If you've got the ability to put deals together because you know the basic foundations of list, adjust, sell. If you know how to create urgency when there is no urgency, and that's what sales is all about, right? If you've got the ability to get results done where others aren't getting results, you're going to increase your fees, you're going to win market share, and in addition to that, this extra money you're making, Phil, it's a golden opportunity now to buy a bit of real estate. I want to encourage real estate agents, hey, if you haven't done it already, you've got this 18-month period where you probably will pay a little bit less than what you would have. Having said that, I'm still not convinced because I'm still seeing some good results out there, Phil. But the bottom line is you'll probably end up buying something at about 5, 10, 15% discount than the height of the boom. So there are real estate agents that can look at this as a gift that's been badly wrapped, and that can improve their net wealth, they can grow their market share, and they can set themselves up and their families. And I'm hoping that is the way smart people that listen to us, Phil, choose to view the next 18 months, 2 years. Who knows?
Yeah, mate, I completely subscribe to what you're saying there, Tom. Real estate markets move. You've seen many markets. You've seen more markets than me, but I've been around long enough now to have experienced a few of them. And in every market, there is opportunities. And let me tell you what, in this sort of softening cycle that we're going through right now, there'll be huge opportunities for wealth creation. What I'm doing, what I know a lot, or I like to think smart investors are doing right now, bank valuations are still stacking up on properties. And if you have an investment property, or if you have an owner-occupied property, let me tell you, you've probably got a fair bit of equity in there and equity being the difference between the value of the property and the debt that's against it. So that equity can be extracted, and you can use that to either propel you into a new property, a new investment property, or some other type of investing. So speak to your mortgage broker as a first point of call, get a hold of them and say, can you review my loans as it sits right now? Get your properties valued up, see what equity you have, and get that equity liquid. And what that means is
as you're talking, I just put it into my Asana task list. I've got to organise a time to meet with my broker. And
speaking of mortgage broker, if you don't have one, Tom, the good people at finny.com.au will help you out. They're good mortgage brokers. That's who I'm using. Give them a little plug. But speak to your mortgage broker. Make that equity liquid. So refinance the property, and that money that you extract from it, put it in an offset account and leave it there, offsetting the debt. So essentially you should be net until you do something with that money, and then wait till those market opportunities start to present themselves. You don't need to rush. There's time is on your side. We'll see this market go through a couple of blips over this period of time. We have the election next Saturday, Tom. We've still got those things that we've been chatting about impacting the global economy, the domestic economy in terms of inflation and some of the challenges in Europe at the moment, the high cost of living. Let these things normalize a little bit and then get ready to strike. But first step, get finance ready, get yourself sorted out, real estate agents and mortgage brokers, because it's going to be a good period if you are generating income and you have good serviceability and you can show to the bank that you are a good borrower. There's going to be some opportunities there. But Tom, speaking of success in real estate, the top 100 agents, the who's who, the zoo, your favorite list of the year. We've got the numbers. They're out. They're available on realestatebusiness.com.au. Have you downloaded it yet? Have you had a look around?
Listen, Phil, I got to tell you, it's a document that what happens with me, I'm always chasing the document. And I always go through the same process. You do have to log in and hand your details over, and then it's sent out to you. So, and it's normally done on the spot, right? So I haven't got a copy of it yet, but between social media and text messages to me, I've got a pretty good idea of who won awards. They're very proud. They're very proud. The winners are very proud. They send me, a snapshot of what they come, and they give me a very short summary of, why they're so happy with it. And I'm proud for them as well, But Phil, if you've got the list there, I'd love to know. Like, this got announced on the 5th of May, right? So is that right?
Yep. So last week.
Okay, so let's if you don't mind, go through some of the names of winners. This is by the way, everyone, REB Top 100, right? The REB Top 100, not the ones by state. This is the national.
This is the national one. How do you want to do this, Tom? Because I get the data really good. I've got a nice spreadsheet that I can sort and do whatever I want to. Do you want the top 10?
Maybe just go through the top. Maybe just run through some of the top 20 names there.
Okay, let me go who you may know. I'm going to start at 20. Michael Murphy, Bell Property, Stratfield.
Wow.
10 years in the industry.
Wow. Michael Murphy. That shocks me, surprises me. Well done, Michael Murphy. He must have just entered the list. There's no way he's been there before, am I right? Or you can't tell off that document.
10 years industry, 2 support staff, average days on market 43, 100 listing secures, sold 141, so a hangover obviously from the year prior. Total value sold 259 or 260 million, Tom. Average sale price 1.8 million.
But Phil, is it the first time he's entered? Does it show?
I don't have those numbers here, but I think that would be in the actual big document, and everyone can go and have a look at that. His name. It's a reason why I haven't seen it there before. So,
well, Michael Murphy, well done. He works for. I train that office every every fortnight, Mondays, 9:00. It's called Bell, Strathfield, Concord, and Michael Murphy's in that team. And I'm so happy and so proud of the guy, because he's one of these guys. If it was a football team, he never would get player of the round. He'd never be written about. He just goes and he just chips away. And look at that, mate. Well done. Any other names?
Well, that same office, Tom, number 9, to jump up, Norman So, Bell Property, Stratfield, number 9.
Yeah, well, he's a regular. He's not a surprise. He's a regular. Norman So, Congratulations.
Let's have a
amazing.
look. Matthew, number 18, Matthew Everingham, Matthews Real Estate, Inner and Southwest Sydney.
Direct competitors to the office that you just spoke about.
Yeah.
Richard Matthews, direct competitors. They actually spoke at the REB Innovation. That's where I last saw him. And he's a very close friend of mine. And he's also a close client of mine, long term, 25 years with Richard, with Matthew Everingham. Next, keep going.
Yeah, and by the way, 1.7 million is his average property. So to your point, 1.7. So very similar to the other that area, 303. Let's go up. Michael Dowling, McGrath Real Estate Ride.
Well, ex
number 15.
Yeah, he's a great agent. He worked for McGrath's. He's actually gone out with a couple of others on a new business called Pello that's launched. But Michael Dowling is an outstanding real estate operator, and I didn't know he actually played professional soccer in England before real estate.
Okay, there's a nice vignette. Number 14, Helen Yan, Ray White, Baldwin North, Tom, 326 million total sales, 2.5 million average sale price, 202 listings secured, 128 sales.
So I was talking to Helen Yan yesterday, and she's actually speaking at ARIC, and she's been a long-term client, gym member, one-on-one client. Helen Yang, listen to this story, Phil. Helen Yang built her real estate business on basically just serving a community on non-real estate issues. So when she came to Australia and there was a strong Chinese community in Melbourne, they needed to have simple things like, how do you fill out a Medicare application form? How do you do this? So she became the go-to person, the translator. She would actually go off and, help people sort of settle in. Next thing you know is, you know what it's like when people like and trust you, then you become a magnet for their business. And it's a great, she's actually speaking at ARIC. It's a great learning. And she's always in the women. She's always there like number one or number two. English is not her first language. So when you hear her speak at ARIC, for those that are going there, you'll see that, look, if you're hungry enough, if you're good enough, you'll make it in real estate. Helen Yan, amazing.
Yeah, number 13, Mel, Matt Steinwade, McGrath Estate Agents, Wamburrula, McMaster's Beach, 330 million, Tom, 2 million in average sales, 187 listings, 162 sales. He's always up there.
Yeah, can you tell how many years? Like this guy's, we're talking
25 years in the industry, 5 support staff, average days on market up there, Tom, 39.
Okay. So, great. Form is temporary, class is permanent. Personal, long-term friend of mine, actually one of my closest mates, and he's done well. He has told me that Central Coast has been challenging of late, but he's winning market share. Keep going. Okay,
let's stick with the girls because it's we've got an impressive lineup here, Tom. Number 11, Vivian Yap, Ray White, Dale Keith, 335 million, Tom, in sales.
In contention to be the number one. There's a few people there. You got a Tesla.
The girls are doing good. We're seeing a lot more of the ladies coming into the rankings, Tom.
Yeah, well, listen, they're likable. They're good on the soft skills. Sometimes they underestimate how good they are. It doesn't surprise me. But she's a tiger. She is relentless. She just won't let go. She was a pharmacist, by the way, Phil. Left pharmacy, got into real estate, and she works in the Prestige area. For those that don't know that area, let's call it Double Bay of Perth, actually probably Point Piper of Perth. And she's extraordinary, She has chopped around a few of the brands. She was with a number of brands. She's now with Ray White. And, well done, Vivian Yap.
Yep. Jennifer Carr, number 10, Tom. Lewis Carr Real Estate, West Pennant Hills, New South Wales. 334 million in sales, 155 listings, 150 sales. Pretty good going.
Extraordinary person as well. And I became very close to her over the last 5 years because her son, who works in the business there, got diagnosed with cancer. And we just became phone buddies. He has recovered. And she's an extraordinary operator. She's one of these people, but Phil, she will not get interviewed. She will not go on stage. She said no to every opportunity. She just likes to sit behind.
Mate, each their own. Number 7, Tom, the highest ranked female in the RAB Top 100 agents for 2022 was Susan Hibbard from Abode Property Agents in Sutherland Shire and St George area. Tom, 403 million in sales, average sales price about $2 million, 283 listings, 206 sales for the year. That's very good going.
Well, I've got to find out who this person is. I'm embarrassed to actually tell you that I wasn't aware of where she worked, but that is an extraordinary effort. Amazing. You got an average price there?
Average price $1.956 million, which is about right for that area.
And
let's
Phil,
go
before we finish off, you just go quickly through because as we're mindful of.
Okay, top 5, Tom. Top 5 from 5 to 1. David Walker, Ray White, Warunga. Number 4, David Highland, Sutherland Shire, Eastern Suburbs. Number 3, Macleay Longhurst from Bressick Whitney, Paddington. Number 2, Michael Clark and Hummel, Manly Northern Beaches. Probably seen him on Lux listings. And number 1, still there. The king, number 1 is Alexander Phillips, PPD Real Estate, Eastern Suburbs of Sydney. Tom, total value of properties sold, $1,072,000.
Unbelievable. Form is temporary, class is permanent. He keeps doing it. He's got an incredible work ethic. Speaks to more people. He's in total momentum. And congratulations to him. And congratulations also to everyone that we didn't mention, Phil, because there's, if you think about it, to get the REB top 100, you are basically in the top percentile of our industry. I mean, I don't know what the exact number is now, 50, 60,000 real estate agents in Australia. But if you think about it, you get 100 of those people and you put that as a percentage, right? You end up realizing we've got the creme de la creme. This is the Smart Brigade. This is the best of the best. This is the Academy Awards, right?
Yeah.
So, Phil, well done.
Tom, just to that, before we sign off, to give some sense to all our real estate agents, and I know a lot of them, when they sit there at the start of the financial year and put out their business plan, we see it all the time. It'll be make the REB top 100 agents. The entry, Tom, number 100, Braddon Walters, Bell Property, Lennox Head up the coast there. Entrance, $153 million in sales, Tom. Average sales price, $1 million. 150 properties sold, 177 listings. He's been in the game for 18 years. So that's the entry.
Okay, that's the benchmark. Phil Tarrant, thank you so much. We'll see everyone next week. We might even look at this time. It's had great engagement this morning.
Nice one. See you, Tom.
Thank you, Phil.